Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are exploring millennial culture, or more specifically why I feel like a failure because of the pressure to succeed in millennial culture. So I thought I'd explore that with you today. But guys, like, why are we like this? What the hell is fueling it? And then also, why is this such a bad thing? Like, why this ridiculous like standard we started setting for ourselves because of social media and all that kind of stuff is so high and unbelievable and is really, really bad for all of us, like across the board. So this is going to be a fun video, as you can probably tell already. So what I've noticed as I've, started to get to my end of my teens, started my 20s, I'm 20 if you don't know, is, this weird millennial culture. But if in your 20s you're not at the top of your career, financially independent, married, kids, all these kind of things, if you don't do this in your 20s, that you're like a failure. I've definitely spoken about this before on my channel, that, being a failure and failure is like my deepest rooted fear. No, this isn't a complaining video or anything. Well, not really. It's more of a sociological kind of what's going on here. Because I know a lot of people love to chat shit about millennials, especially the media being like, oh, they're so lazy, they're so entitled, they're so this and that. But like, of all of my friends, I really don't think anyone I know is like that. That's this kind of weird fabricated idea I really, really don't like. And I don't know how much that applies to me though. So to clarify, millennials are kind of defined as like being born in the early 1980s all the way up and actually till the early noughties. So I'm born in 1998. A lot of people seem to focus more on like people born in like the 80s and the early 90s, considering I also then fall into like Generation Z. I was gonna go Generation Z, I've heard that a lot, which people born from like the early 90s to the noughties. So essentially what I'm looking at this from is from like, I don't really identify that much with millennial culture, but this aspect of it, I certainly think that then my generation, Generation Z, is then like sort of definitely going to take over, especially considering we're also known as the I generation. So, think about technology and social media and all that. And I think that plays a part. So it's definitely going to influence us as well. And considering, my audience is from like age 13 to 24 primarily, you're gonna feel this the same way I do. So let's kind of look at this from the beginning in terms of where I think this pressure comes from. Obviously I acknowledge that with other generations there has always been pressure to succeed, like I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the like highly intense level of pressure to succeed very, very young is coming from. So a lot of us will very well remember the financial crash, that it's called the Great Recession. I looked this up on Wikipedia the other day, it's called the Great Recession. Like, that should terrify you. I was about, what, 9? I really vividly remember that, and I find it weird that this is big economic thing that I lived through. If you don't know what that is, because even if you're a couple years younger than me, I can understand that you might not know as much. Okay, A, watch The Big Short. It's a film that you can watch about it. It's really good. It's got Margot Robbie in it in a bathtub. Don't ask. Or do Google it. Or I will leave a couple like links for reading down below if you need to. I'll actually link a couple of articles that I read on this topic down below for you as well. Millennial pressure. So yeah, a lot of us lived with the recession. A lot of people lost their jobs, lost their homes. A lot of us, were going through school and becoming adults and starting to get jobs for the first time in a very difficult financial situation. There were very, very few jobs, meaning a very, very competitive job market. So I feel like almost then in school we started being conditioned that every single thing we do has to be useful for us in a way to make us as employable as possible. If you kind of look back at your school education, think about how much you did because you knew it would look good in a university statement or look good on a CV. Like, who the fuck does D&V for any other reason? I definitely started my D&V not because I enjoy any of that kind of like outdoors stuff, but because I knew it looked good in a university personal statement, so I'd be able to go to a better university, so I'd be able to get a better job. You kind of see think about how much you might have done, even almost without realising it, because you've sort of been taught that you need to do these things so you can go to a better university, so you can get a better job. Which is really kind of fucked up if you think about it. It's like they're trying to like mould you into like the perfect little working ant instead of like personal development. So this idea that we've been under a lot of pressure to like be the best versions of ourselves in order to then be more employable, you can kind of see that it started at a young age, very young age, great. I was never really presented with any other option than to go to uni. Maybe more at my GCSE school. They did talk about apprenticeships, but my sixth form, not a word, because they have like 100% of their students go to uni, so I don't think they wanted to mess with that. But we were never ever given any other option. Even the option to like drop out was never mentioned. We only got, you will defer your university, but we never got any other kind of option than that. Not everybody wants to go to university, nor should everyone feel they have to. I go because I bloody love my degree, but you shouldn't go for the sake of it. it's just expensive to go for the sake of it. So it's like we've been conditioned to feel that it is going to be very intense and very competitive. I'm not saying that it's not, but I feel like it's almost been overcompensated for us, as in like we've been told that it's going to be this much, that it's kind of filtered into our expectations of ourselves as well, expecting that because we've done all this extra stuff that then we will be able to do like as well as possible, when that, I don't think that's always going to be the case. Something one of my friends said was that it might not just be like something that's coming from us, as I guess I have said as well, but it also is kind of like the baby boomers, so that's like the generation before the millennials, so it's kind of more our parents' generation, of their judgment on our generation, which is stupid because this whole like generation judging the younger generation is nothing, it's nothing, you know, unique to the baby boomer millennial like relationship. That every generation judges the generation before and after them, you know. But one of the things people seem to criticize millennials a lot for is the fact that they don't move out of their parents' houses and all that kind of stuff. This whole failure to launch idea, like that's such bollocks though, because their generation fucked the economy, so now it's so difficult to be able to like buy a house. Like it's so difficult for young people now to get onto the housing ladder, especially in this country, and I am genuinely shit fucking scared of getting stuck in this, like, it's called the rental trap, where you're always renting, so you're never able to actually like afford to then like save up money to then buy a house. Like I'm terrified of that. So it's the kind of thing that I don't think is a very fair judgment. But another thing I think might have something to do with it, obviously these are all my theories, social theories on why we're like this, but I think it might also be to do with the fact that a lot of people are getting married later, having babies later, and maybe by putting off these big personal life events that people feel like they then need to have something else to show for what they've done in their 20s. Almost like you need to have a successful career to prove that it is worth putting off these other things for you as a person. Also, side note, if you disagree with anything I'm saying or have other points you'd like to make, by all means leave them respectfully down in the comments below, because I feel like this is like a discussion that definitely needs to be, you know, thought out more. So please, 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 I want this to be like an ongoing active discussion. So leave your thoughts in the comments, you know, like regardless of your age as well. I would really, really like to hear your thoughts. Probably more as well from like people older than me who like have already like left uni and started getting jobs and that kind of stuff. I would definitely love to hear what you have to say. Another aspect that certainly like contributes to this whole sort of pressure to be successful and also like the best, and I do mean it in like the best version of yourself, is definitely social media. Yeah, and I don't just mean this in a way of like being financially successful, I mean as well in terms of like, Chris is actually the one who brought this up, in terms of like being the best version of yourself, as in like looking as good as possible, being really like fit and stuff, having really good makeup, having expensive clothes, having expensive cars, going on really expensive holidays, that kind of also flashy culture. You know how you've got like the humble brag, #blessed, that kind of like showing your wealth in like every way you can, and in this way then other people's success is so much more in your face. Because think about it, people don't share their failings, people never share their failings online. I definitely share my mental breakdowns and stuff with you because I just want to make sure that I'm terrified of the idea that I contribute to this idea that I'm perfect and successful, and like for example, I got rejected from 2 jobs today, so if that makes anyone feel better, certainly didn't make me feel better. We don't share this culture of failure with each other because we don't want to, like, nobody wants to be seen as a failure. Nobody wants to feel like a failure. So that means then in our timelines it's very curated of people's success, 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 which then can so easily make you feel like utter shit. And with social media we have numbers. We have this very quantitative measure in terms of just the numbers, just the followers we have and likes and stuff of how successful we are. Though I think a lot of us can then understand that, oh, you can say that this person is more successful than this person because their numbers are bigger. But that's really like, oh, it really bugs me. Right, I'm gonna use myself as an example. Sorry if this bugs anyone. With my YouTube channel, I have at the moment 15,000 subscribers. Recently hit 1 million views, which is very, very exciting. You can very easily say that I'm not that successful of a YouTuber because I've only got 15,000 subscribers, you know. Other people have millions and millions. So like, why am I doing this? You're clearly not very good at it. The idea of me being good or bad at YouTube is completely subjective. Like, I definitely can say that I am a good YouTuber because I post regularly, I make good quality videos, high production value. Like, I am also, you know, I don't try and clickbait you into watching my videos, like, and hopefully I would like to think that a lot of you consider me a good YouTuber. Like, why then can somebody say that, oh, so-and-so is more successful than you are because their numbers are bigger? I'm like, how can you define like, why do you have to define success that way as well? It's just, like your work isn't necessarily better than my work just because more people have watched it. Side note to this, my personal pet peeve on YouTube is seeing people who are younger than me but have more subscribers but make completely generic, unoriginal content. Like for me, that is my biggest, like, it's one of these things that just makes me like kind of die inside. I'm like, but why do people watch your videos more than they watch mine? I just can't understand it. It just makes me, well, that's a personal pet peeve. I might actually save those for a whole other video. Like, I think I feel most like a failure in life when I'm measuring myself against other people on YouTube, like, because they're in my industry, so it almost feels like it's more valid. Like, I'm not going to be upset that I'm not Elon Musk or something, but, you know, I do get this, like, crushing feeling of, what am I doing wrong? Like, why are my videos not as good as someone else's? Like, oh, I'm never going to be good at YouTube. What the fuck does that even mean? And like I said, I feel the need to share these things with you because I don't want you thinking that I am this like perfect, successful human kind of, because that's not what people are like. And the fact is as well, with social media, you get such a limited view of someone that only, like I said, they're only gonna share the best things with you. And yet obviously I know I'm guilty of that. Like, my Instagram is very curated. I'm not gonna share my meltdowns on Instagram. I do on YouTube though, so, you know, I hope that compensates. And with this, the fact is that a lot of people on social media are very young. So I think that perpetuates this idea that, like, if you're not hugely successful by the time you hit 30, you're a massive failure. Like, oh my god, you didn't make it onto the Forbes 30 under 30 list. Oh my god, your life is over. Like, think about it though, if you want to be massively successful at 30, do you not think you're gonna burn out? All your success is happening in your 20s. Like, the fuck are you gonna do for the rest of your life? I was watching Sex and the City like recently. If you haven't watched the show, basically they're all, the main characters are all in their 30s, 35 and stuff. And they kept saying how like, oh, these 20 something girls, oh, these 20 something this. And I'm like, ooh, 20 something is really fucking young. So I just feel like social media has allowed us to convince ourselves that our 20s are old. Like, that your life is over by the age of 30, like I said. Like, that's fucking dumb. That's so dumb. It's worth doing a bit of research into the people who got really successful, like in their 40s and 50s, because really, like, that's where I think it should be at. I have a couple quotes from one of the articles I read. This is by Melanie Kurt. So, quote, "When I made it out of my 20s without making the Forbes 30 under 30 list, I wasn't crushed, but I was far more disappointed than was healthy. And it wasn't about recognition, it was about the shame of feeling like I haven't done enough with my life and like time is running out." I actually have another one from this article. "Perhaps even more insidiously, somewhere along the way, we've started to truly believe that it is normal to have made your biggest contributions to society before you're even old enough to get a rental car." And like, considering this sort of technology generation we live in, like, a lot of people who are getting incredibly rich from the internet and technology are very young people. You know, all the Silicon Valley, like, billionaires and stuff. In our social media age, it feels like being a billionaire is so accessible because it's so visible to us. But I was talking to my dad about this and he kind of looked at me like, but being a billionaire is never going to be the norm. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah. That's fucking true. But like, also think about it, who doesn't have a bloody startup nowadays? Think about how often you hear the word startup. That in itself is this idea of like something that you can create so much money from. It's this like idea of like, oh look, we can do this. That not everybody's going to. Like, that's completely normal though. So I feel like we need to stop convincing ourselves that if we aren't massively successful in our 20s, that we fucked up somewhere along the line. And like, for me, in like a creative industry, that's especially true as well. Like, if you think about your favourite artists, or if you think about your favourite actors and actresses, or even your favourite YouTubers, you know, most of them are going to be under 30. Interestingly for me though, most of my favourite YouTubers are over 30, so. And I feel like maybe a lot of the YouTubers we watch wouldn't talk about this because maybe they don't even notice it, because a lot of them then are in their 20s and are hugely successful. So they've already succeeded, so how would they realise that this pressure still exists? Maybe to obviously grow their success, I can see. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this video is always going to come from me. But I think a lot of you know that for me, YouTube like isn't a career option. Like, oh, when people say that I want to grow up and do YouTube, that always brings me like a... like, it's that kind of cringy feeling of like, don't do it, don't do it. Like, I'm the worst person to ask for advice about starting a channel because I will tell you not to. Again, I really think I need to make a whole other video on like YouTube culture again. I've done this before, but I feel like I have a whole other video for you guys. Hopefully, and all of you know that I want to make films, I want to be a director, and the joyous, heartwarming thing, if you read up on any director, is they're all like peaking in their 50s, 60s and goddamn 70s. Like, I have a while. That's something that I don't feel with my films, is that I don't feel pressure to like make a feature-length film in my 20s. Like, I don't. It's fantastic. I'm not like stressing out about when am I going to do my first feature-length film. I'm stressing about when am I going to make a 20-minute short film, for God's sakes. But I'm not worried about that, because if you look at the trajectory of so many directors, they start making their best stuff as well when they're just so much older and experienced, and I like that. Like, they're all peaking so much later. If you think about Christopher Nolan, if you think about Catherine Bigelow, like, they're doing that later. So I just need to chill. And that's nice. I always like freak out massively about my success relative to YouTube, but then I calm down about my success relative to filmmaking. I'm like, it's fine. With filmmaking, I feel like I'm more ahead of the curve. So that's okay. I really do plan to peak in my 50s. My 50s and my 60s, I plan to peak, because, you know, hopefully I've made a lot of films by then. People are trusting me with more money, can make bigger films, the better films. I mean, literally, with my film ideas, I can like plan them in my head of like the order I'd make them, because I know which ones are more expensive. So that's always really enjoyable. This whole like pressure thing really sucks, especially because I feel like, for me anyway, I feel like I'm right in the middle of it. So here's a brief recap of what I can remember that we've spoken about. A lot of us have grown up during the recession, so, you know, trying to enter into a job market was always going to be a lot tougher, but then in school and stuff we were like conditioned then to have to be the best possible, because it's like they were preparing us to enter into that. Social media plays a massive influence in making success look very close and very easy, because people don't share their failures and struggles. People keep that to themselves and only want to show you the good stuff. And the fact is, we don't, and we shouldn't let ourselves be taken in by that. And also, with the technology age we live in, the idea of just getting a startup and starting something that would create a lot of money also does seem very close to us as well. So I feel like a lot of these factors, and other ones of course that maybe I haven't even thought of, create this like environment in which we feel like we have to be as successful as possible as early on as possible, which is unrealistic. And I think a lot of us, I think we just need a massive reality check on this. It's not going to happen for the vast majority of us, but that's okay. Someone else's successes do not make you a failure. I think I need to tell myself that 1,000,001 times. And I think that's actually maybe the best thing to end the video on. Just because you haven't attained the same level of success as someone else does not automatically make you a failure. And we will now end the video. Please leave me your thoughts below. I'd love to continue this discussion down in the comments. I make videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday at 8 GMT. You can also like this video and subscribe to never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Well, let's try from this.